before we begin, just please kindly mute yourself. And if you have any questions, what we hope you do, this is the reason why we're having this discussion, to answer any of the questions that you might have. Please use the live chat feature to share your questions, or you can use the raise your hand icon on the top right of your screen to ask your questions. Our goal of this panel discussion with you, parents of students in the College of Communication and the Arts, um, and I'm going to be excited to introduce our panel, is to connect you to our wonderful parent community to share their knowledge, expertise, and insight about the pirate student experience. We hope we can answer all your questions and provide you with information and encourage your student to make the most of their experience at Seton Hall University. The College of Communication and the Arts fosters academic and engaging curriculum that prime students to launch careers or to pursue advanced degrees. We are currently offering 8 undergraduate Bachelor of Arts programs, 2 graduate Master of Arts programs, as well as dual degree options. All communication and the arts students benefit from one-on-one advising, experiential learning opportunities, and the flexibility to explore various disciplines and still be focused to succeed. The College of Communication and Arts is a dynamic community which your sons and daughters are going to experience, which provides them opportunities to learn from and thrive alongside scholars, artists, theorists, critics, practitioners, and professionals. Our diverse and program offerings are anchored in the humanities, infused with technology, and provide purposeful and meaningful collaborations amongst programs. Students graduate as creative, skilled, ethical, and excellent communicators. Now it's my pleasure to introduce our wonderful parent panelists. I'm just going to introduce who they are, and I'm going to ask them to share a little bit more about who they are, their student. So we have Deborah Galasso, Julie Harris, Jennifer Nguyen, Natalie Vaca, and I think Michelle is on the call. I know she was traveling. So Deborah, if you'd like to introduce yourself and share a little bit about who you are and your student. You
Sure.
could
You can hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. So Deborah Galasso, my daughter is Madison Vance. She is going into her senior year. She's a PR major. Loves Seton Hall. We actually live in San Diego, about a mile from the beach, and I'm still not sure why she went to New Jersey. When I go out, it's a great place. But yeah, so she's enjoying it very much, and she's actually going to be graduating in December. So she's going to be graduating on an accelerated timeline.
Thank you, Deborah. Julie, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name's Julie Harris. My son is Ben Harris. He's going to be a senior this year. He's a journalism major with the sports media minor, as well as a minor in sound production or sound something.
Great. Julian, if you could again lower your camera a little bit, we still just see.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Is that better?
A little bit.
Sorry.
That's all right. Jennifer, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Jen Nowen. My son is Ryan Johnston. He's an upcoming sophomore, communications major, broadcast journalism, sports minor, and he also wants to minor in business.
Natalie, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Natalie Vaca. My daughter is Noelle Vaca, who is a incoming sophomore, but also looks like she'll be graduating in 2023, a year early. She is part of also the Leadership Institute in the communication cohort. So if anybody has any questions with that also. And yeah, she's an actual communication major, which I know there are not many of them, it seems to me, and looking for her minor.
Great. And I think that's our esteemed panel for today. As you can hear, there's a wealth of knowledge here. You have some students that are about to graduate, some that are juniors in different majors. So we're going to open it up to questions. So for our parents of incoming freshmen, if you have any questions feel free to share it in the chat, or you could just raise your hand if you have a question right now. Let's get it started. This is for you. So, any questions? That's fine. So I'm going to start it off then, and I think one of the questions. Here we go. There's a question about the TV studio. I'm sorry. Did the TV studio get renovated? I know that project was in the works before COVID. So I can
tell you it didn't.
Right. Right.
Ben is one of the station managers, and because of the COVID and everything, it was put on hold. So it looks, from what he says, I think it's going to be probably the year after next. So probably a year after he graduates.
Right.
But they were going to get new equipment as well as renovate the studio and then move it into, I think, the university center.
That is correct. That's part of the plan for the university center. So there's a pretty large renovation that's going on right now at the university center. So which should be completed, they're saying, in 2023. And the studio will be housed in the university center. So we're excited about that. So that would be something that would be provided to most of our communication majors that definitely use the studio to hone their craft. So we're excited about that. Great question. Thank you. So we have a question from Gloria Otero. Do you have an estimate or percentage of how many students change their communication major after the first year? It's a good question. I'm not sure if our parent panel can answer that, or know if any of them are their students.
I do know that Madison stayed with her major, but changed her minor many times and considered changing her major, but then ended up staying with PR. So I think there's some flex in there, but that's sample size of 1.
I actually know a few of my daughter's friends who are other majors who have transferred into a communication major this year. So that's always fun to hear.
Yeah, I'll just chime in that I know Ryan met regularly with his academic advisor and has planned a couple different paths. You know, sometimes their interests change or they take a class, they want to do something else. That's cool. But I felt like advisement was easily, he could easily access advising. And then he would also talk about discussing things with, various people at the station, faculty advisors at the radio station, at the TV station. So there was easy access to faculty.
And that's a great question. I think, and Jen, you just mentioned the academic advising is so crucial for student success, especially for freshman year, right? They're coming in, some are just hopeful about what their major is going to be, if it's journalism or public relations. But it's so important for them to connect with their academic advisor, their mentors, their peer advisors. I don't know if anyone in our panel can share maybe an experience that their students have had a great relationship with their advisor, but to kind of share how important that is for your student to be successful as a student at Seton Hall. And that anyone can answer that question or share.
I assume they're still doing it, but Ben had a core group that he had to meet with his first semester, freshman year, and they were all, for sure, communication majors, but it seems like they were all journalism majors too. Honestly, a lot of his friends are still from that core group. And then I think his advisor, I don't know if it's still the same person, but he meets with that advisor before he schedules every single semester. And it's really kept him on track in terms of making sure that he really has the right credits to graduate and all of that. I mean, they don't do it for them. So, I mean, the kids need to be prepared, but they have a meeting before they schedule every single semester.
I'd say Madison Madison was also part of she was in the leadership program, and then she was also in the honors program. So there's required courses within the honors program that do and don't go towards your major. And so had to work actually quite a bit with both the counselors and her faculty advisors. And she speaks often about her, I will say she talks about the advisor, but she also talks a lot about her the faculty relationships she has. Should I take this class? Why shouldn't I? Like, really helping her kind of hone where, based on what her path or goals are, what courses make sense and where to try new things. So has really tapped into that, and they're so accessible, which is great.
Thank you, Deborah. Anyone else on our panel would like to share? Well, I also agree in regards to what Deborah just mentioned, the importance of your student having a relationship with faculty, and especially because of the College of Communication, it is small, and they really get to know their faculty, and they're there to really help them through this journey. And so every student is different. There's some that are very assertive, and there are those that are shy. But as a parent, what you can do is definitely coach them and say, hey, have you met with your faculty? Have you met with the professor during their office hours? So things of that nature, just to be mindful. But that's so important for their success, is really getting to know faculty and developing that relationship as well. And we do have a link in our parent site. I'll put it in the chat that kind of gives you, and it comes from a professor in regards to advice on how to have your student develop relationships with faculty, which is helpful. So I see there's a really good question from Francesca Grassi. What are the realistic possibilities that my freshman would be able to secure an internship as a freshman? Anyone?
I would caution about getting an internship as a freshman. The change of moving into college is a lot. That being said, there's always opportunities if you want them. My other daughter, who actually doesn't go to Seton Hall, but is a freshman, did get an internship this summer. She had to apply to a lot of places to get it. So they're out there. It's a job market, but there's a lot of change going on in your freshman year, and adding a job on top of that might be a bit much.
Go ahead, Jen.
Yeah, I would just say, I suppose it's possible. Ryan was not successful getting an internship for this summer. He's working. But he did apply, which I thought was an important process. And I would say it's not even really necessary freshman year, because there's so many opportunities to gain experience in communications on campus. So he, in the last year, because we were just talking about it, he's newscasting from home over his phone. He's on the radio once a week. He does a shift, like a 4-hour shift. So this year he's been on TV, on radio. He's published to the web, sports journalism, which is his thing. He had a web article published like 10 days after he got to school, because he went to an interest meeting and they said, sure, and he got his topic approved. And he was on the Seton Hall website, which I was absolutely thrilled about. So he's also been doing behind camera stuff. He did so there's so much they can learn at Seton Hall within the program's freshman year to help them become competitive for communications internships, which I think, at least in where we live, are very, there's not that many of them, and they're competitive to get.
Yeah, and I agree. I actually work in the field myself. I went to Seton Hall. I was a communication major at Seton Hall, and now my daughter is as well. And the best part about what you just said is that gives you the resume experience to apply for that internship. Because when you're applying for an internship with, hey, I'm a communication major, but I don't have any background yet, you're going to be a little bit lower on the pile. If you could say, I've worked at the Seton Hall radio station, which is one of the best ranked radio stations in the country. I work at Type Perry TV. I work at the Centonian. I'm part of the Honor Society, which I'll tell you, my daughter joined the Communication Honor Society her freshman year. She's not inducted yet, but it gave her exposure to a lot of people in her major, lots of good opportunities. So yeah, definitely take advantage of all that, because that's going to pad that resume for your student to get that internship over somebody else who hasn't done anything yet.
Thank you, Natalie. Anyone on the panel, can you share some of the internships that your students have experienced outside of the university, if they have had one?
I found that most of the internships are reserved, especially in journalism and sports, particularly because it's so competitive, are reserved for juniors and seniors. And Ben was finishing his junior year last summer. He was accepted for an internship with the Cincinnati soccer team, but it didn't happen. This summer, he doesn't have one. Excuse me, I'm sorry. And but he's been working at the TV station, the radio station, and honestly, he's built up such a huge resume from doing those things. I feel pretty good about him graduating next year and, going to look for a regular job. He's applied for a lot of internships and, had second and third interviews. It's just, it didn't come to fruition this summer.
Yeah, and actually also a lot of besides the communication organizations on campus, if your student is involved in a fraternity or a sorority or a club, there's great opportunities there to start your path on communication. My daughter's on the dance team, and she's going to be running their social media site next year. There's a lot of opportunities like that. She's in a sorority, and hopefully at some point she'll be able to do something, with marketing so there's a lot of opportunities outside of that. You could be a member of a club, and there's always going to be need for someone to do tasks. And believe me, I don't know about what is going to happen this year, but I know there were a ton of opportunities last year because of the weird year we were in, that you'd be surprised that as a freshman, you can get a role in a club.
Oh, definitely.
That's a great point, Natalie. Yeah, and again, there's in regards to the transition from high school to college, and I know some of the students fear about, will I be accepted? Will I meet friends? How would I be part of this, the social fabric of the university? But again, I think because there's so many student organizations and clubs to be involved, that you definitely encourage your student to be involved. Especially outside the classroom, because that's where they're going to meet friends, they're going to grow, just mature and really meet their people, right? And so really recommend that to them. And like Natalie mentioned, that they're going to have opportunities to be the president of their club or be the PR marketing person that's going to be their day to day, right? They're going to be meeting and really getting that experience to work as a group, as a team, to get things done. And so that's such a great experience, again, that they could, really have on campus. The other part, and I don't know if any of your students were part of the CHAMP program, which is a great program that's a collaboration with our Career Center. So CHAMP is just it's the Com Arts Honor Alumni Mentor Partners, which kind of pairs students together with alumni like Natalie.
I was a part of the program, which was wonderful. And interestingly enough, I was in a sorority on campus back in the day. And one of the girls recently reached out to me. She's a communication major. She is the news director at SOU, and I work at a radio station. And we connected, and this didn't even have anything to do with the CHAMP program. But I just spent about an hour with her last week on a Zoom call. She just wanted to pick my brain about the industry, and you wouldn't believe the alumni that's available. I could even imagine, if you're not part of the CHAMP program, if you reached out to alumni relations, I'm sure they could pair up your student with someone for just guidance, even if it's not a full mentorship, but just having a one-on-one with somebody who has a, thread of your life. You have that Seton Hall connection, And, I'd be glad to help any communication major if possible and give them my thoughts on the industry.
Thank you, Natalie, for spending some time with that student and sharing your experience. So important, and I think it's something that we really try to take advantage or utilize as our alumni community, but also our parents as well. Like Natalie, who fits both worlds, which is great. And I've heard wonderful things about the CHAMP program, where companies like Johnson and Johnson, Univision, Viacom, Novartis. We have alumni that are involved in those, that work in those companies, that have really given their time and their talent to our students to mentor them. We also have a kind of a social media platform, kind of a LinkedIn, but it's really developed for Seton Hall, and it's really connecting our students directly to our alumni who are raising their hands and saying, "I want to help. I want to mentor. I have our alumni would provide internship opportunities there. So highly recommend your students, but be careful, because you want to make sure they just focus on their schoolwork, their classwork, that first semester, and gradually, they'll start building their network with our alumni, with their students in different organizations and clubs. So is there any other parents of incoming freshmen? If you have a question, please raise your hand. If you have any other any questions about roommates and housing? Okay, here's a question from Gloria. Thank you, Gloria. What's the average amount of students that take communication in regards to the number of students the number of undergraduate students that we have as a whole that are also communication? It's a good question. I would have to say a small percentage. I think we have, I'll find that information. I can do a quick search, but I'll get that. It's very small. I think about maybe 300 communication majors, and there are about close to 6,000 undergraduate students. So that kind of gives you a sense of the size.
And now you're just speaking in the communication and the arts, or communication? Because I know that's confusing to some people.
Question. Yeah, if it's all students that are matriculated in the College of Communication and the Arts. Yeah, in regards to communication majors, I have to take a look at that. It'll probably be even smaller, of course, because there are 8 undergraduate programs. So yeah, it's probably smaller. So which is good, right? Because they get that one-on-one attention, small, tight-knit community. They don't feel like they're in a big ocean full of students. They'll never be in a classroom or a lecture hall more than maybe 30 students, right? So, which is great. And that also gives them the opportunity to really develop a relationship with their professors, which is so crucial. Hopefully that gives you an answer to your question, but I can find some exact answers for you in regards to that, which is a good question. Thank you. Any other questions from our parents of incoming freshmen? I'm surprised nothing about roommates or housing.
Well, we had that conversation earlier.
Okay.
We met with the residents. Well, I mean, I personally did. I had a Teams meeting with the resident earlier.
Okay.
Answered all the questions.
So you have a son or a daughter coming in? Son.
Maury.
Where is he living? In Boland or?
No, Aquinas.
Aquinas, okay. He's in a good place. Aquinas is an upgrade. Boland is being renovated, so it's our oldest housing dorm. But we're doing some wonderful upgrades to it.
A little thrown off by it at first. Wasn't expecting that, but it definitely is better than what we saw when we went to the campus. So good. And hopefully, so far things look good with his roommate choice. So,
and I think that's a huge adjustment. And I'll let the panel share. I mean, right? They're coming and they're sharing a room. Could be with 2 or 3 other students. So their personal space that they had before is no longer there. So really adjusting to that is huge, right? So I don't know if any of our parent panel would like to share how were they able to adjust. What was the situation with their roommate that first semester, and how were they able to adjust to that?
Yes, please, because my son has never been away from me in 18 years. Out of my 3 boys.
You know, my daughter actually landed up living with someone she went to high school with, which we weren't sure if it was a good idea or a bad idea. Honestly, last year in the pandemic year where they were a little more isolated, I think it worked out very well for her. But she did have 2 suite mates that they did not know ahead of time. I wouldn't say there was no conflict, but there was no connection to them. Interestingly enough, those 2 girls moved out at one point, and I'll have to tell you that my daughter and her roommate, all on their own, talked to the resident hall director. They had 2 other girls that they were friends with. They were willing to move into the suite. They helped, he really helped them coordinate everything. So there's always somebody there if there is a problem, because we're not going to say it's all going to go great. I mean, we know that. There's always problems. But the staff in the dorm was very helpful. And the RAs were great. I mean, her RA was wonderful. They became friendly, always checking in on them, make sure everything was good. So there was a positive experience about living on campus.
Well, that's good to hear, because I've always been, on the parent,
exactly.
Board, all 3 of my kids. So I've always been involved with the school, and it's very difficult that once your child turns 18, it's like they cut you off from everything. Not them. Just like schools, everything. And I'm like, I'm not used to this, because I'm used to being 100% involved. So It's a little different, and it'll take some time getting used to, because I don't want to be the crazy parent reaching out to the teacher.
Yeah, no, don't do that. But I'll tell you, the good thing is that, I found this, there was a lot of communication from the school that you didn't have to ask your kid about this or that. They reached out to you by email. Social media was great. Definitely follow Seton Hall, on Instagram or Facebook, because there's tons of information there. Like one day I saw, oh wow, they're having fire pits out on the green. Like, that's so cool. Like, what a great way to get out. So I just kind of casually in conversation said to my daughter, I was like, oh, did you see? I didn't want to be spying on her, but it was a little nudge. She's like, oh, no, we know. We reserved one. So it was good to know ahead of time what was going on, so then you can kind of guide them if you needed to.
Okay. That's good to know. I appreciate
that.
Yeah,
their social media is very helpful.
Yeah, I highly recommend, if you want to just be engaged, just join our parents' Facebook group. There's 2 of them. There's one that's official by Seton Hall, and there's the other one. And it's really parents helping parents, right, through this journey. And so any questions that you might have, you'll get 100 comments instantaneously. So, and no question is, you'll have, complaints. Well, that's fine. It's an opportunity for you to just share. But the other advice I would give is that, you got to understand that the communication is from the university to your student, to your son. So you could ask, and emails, right? 18-year-olds, they don't even look at emails. It's like, what? So you have to maybe constantly just be a coach and did you receive anything did you look at your Seton Hall email, just to make sure you haven't missed any deadlines? Deborah, I see your hands raised. Go right ahead.
My daughter lived on campus the first year, had a great experience with her roommate. They were going to be roommates the next year. She signed up for her room with her roommate. She forgot one of the forms. I'm a very hands-off mom. I'm like, this is your opportunity. I'm here for you if you need me, but it's all on her. She missed the deadline. She didn't have a place to live her sophomore year. And she called us and she's like, I don't have a place. I missed the deadline. There's nothing I can do. And we're like, well, let us know what you figure out, right? and so she found an apartment, and she found a house to live in, and she scrambled. So probably maybe I should have checked in a little bit more, but at the same time, she figured it out. She had a house. It was great. She's still friends with her friends. So they'll they will figure it out. But yeah, there are things. And again, the communication is fabulous. There is if you want to know anything, there's plenty of information available out there. So yeah, just
good.
Yeah, I've heard stories like that from countless families where the student just didn't look at their emails and they missed the deadline, and then they're trying to scramble and they're asking mom and dad, what should I do? So it's.
And we're in San Diego, so I was kind of I can't help you look for an apartment, right? And it was COVID. You're like.
But they figure it out somehow. But again, yeah, just, there's an opportunity for you to learn more about what's going on. And so as a parent, the more information that you have at your disposal, then you could be asking those directed questions that's important. And there's 17, 18, 19-year-olds. So they're
learning.
especially, there's so much going on, and those are the things that you can help out with, just to kind of remind them. But we try to do as much as we can to provide you the information that you need in regards to deadlines. We have a parents newsletter that we send out, usually bi-monthly, but we'll send them out maybe monthly if we feel like there's pertinent information that you need as a parent. So I highly recommend. And I think every parent of incoming freshmen, we subscribe you to it. So it's up to you if you want to unsubscribe. So you'll get that. We'll send that out in August as well. And Student Services sends out a weekly email to students about everything that's going on. So it's usually Friday. So your student will get an email about everything under the sun. So they should not know. They cannot ever say, I didn't know this was going on. It's just because they're not looking at their emails.
Now they actually check their texts and they check emails, like all the things that like they don't do in high school. Like you can't get them to respond. They're like, I didn't check my email. They actually do now check their emails.
Yeah, the email is huge. There's a big correspondence with the students. They really, like you said, that weekly email gives them the lay of the land. So that's extremely helpful. And they'll realize they need it, believe me.
Well, and that's the pirate net was just so overwhelming to me. I'm like, as a freshman, wow, like this is a lot. And I was like, you know what, you can handle this right now.
Yeah, I think we could do a panel discussion on just pirate net itself, because it's a lot. I don't know if anyone want to share your experience with pirate net, how you've been able to help your student guide it, or any advice.
I will say my son has given us like his code, his password and everything for PirateNet so that we can go in and look at it. Although you've upped the security, so now every time I go in, I have to like get a push notification from him to allow me to do it so that I can pay his tuition. But anyway, like it's helpful just to be able to have access to that. Like, I mean, he's not a particularly secretive kid. There's no secrets. So, I mean, there's nothing particularly personal about it. So it's just easy to both have access to that. The other thing that I would say is super important, because we live in Ohio, so housing's, incredibly important that he has it. Plan on in February paying the deposit for the next year's housing if they're going to stay in a dorm. So Ben stayed in the dorm freshman and sophomore year. After that, he was ready to move to an apartment with his friends. The other thing is, he came from far away, so we literally didn't know a soul. And you have to remember, like, your friends from high school, you've known your whole life. You're not going to build that level of friendship overnight with somebody. So, just they need to be patient. It doesn't happen immediately. They have to, get involved in activities they like, and they're going to make friends who like the same stuff. And eventually they'll find their people, but just it takes time.
Yeah. And also, I'm sorry. With the communication that you were talking about on the PirateNet, one thing, it's funny because I've never been on PirateNet. My daughter navigates it herself. I have no idea. But one thing that we did this year, and it's really important if you do want to have access to their financial, is make sure that they fill out the FERPA. I think it's the Family Educational Rights Privacy Act, and they can give you access. So now my husband and I, can help with the financial issues, and even calling financially. You have to have that filled out if you want to call financially. Like my daughter is working all day long this summer, and she needed to do something in the financial aid department, and she couldn't call. So I was like, you better fill that out because they're not going to take my call. They are 18. It's just like when you go to the doctors now, that even your pediatrician won't let you, do anything. So it's the same thing with the finances. So make sure that you fill that out on your PirateNet.
And the FAFSA needs to be filled out every single year. It's not just as you're entering as a freshman, it's every single year, and like October, November.
Yeah, actually, I just want to add about ways to like help them with the adjustment. One that surprised me was Ryan was like, well, I need to bring a TV and I need to bring my Xbox. And I was like, yeah, I'm really not sending you to college to play Xbox. But he convinced me. I was like, all right, we'll take it up there. And if there's a problem, we will pick it up. But they did tournaments like, well, you got to remember last year was COVID. So there was a lot of casual interaction that couldn't happen. But they would do tournaments like down their hallway. All the kids would be in their room, but they could interact through Xbox. And also in the beginning, when he, just wanted to talk to people he knew, he'd go on Xbox and connect with friends from high school who were all over the country at different colleges. So it ended up, all the kids, because I asked him today, I was like, Ryan, what should I say at this panel? And he was like, tell them that all the kids have a TV and their Xbox. Let them bring their Xbox. I was like, okay. So I am spreading the word.
Yeah. And I gotta say,
reservation, and I completely agree with you. Yeah.
My son will be
Seton
happy.
Hall has an esports program right now, so we're the biggest champions. So you have students that are part of a team that are playing games, video games, and competing against other biggie schools, and it's a great way again for them to be engaged and doing something that they love, and they're meeting wonderful friends. Again, building that sense of community that they feel like they're a part of the university, which enhances their experience. It helps them with their classwork. It just motivates them. So let them bring their Xbox, but not both
Sports
Xbox.
is a big industry right now.
Yeah, I know there's a.
On the
Deborah,
fight.
you wanted?
Go ahead. Did you have a question?
Yeah, Vanessa, you have a question? Unmute yourself, please.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you. Sorry I was late. I'm a school teacher and we had stuff going on at school. But I did have a couple of questions. So maybe you already addressed it and I apologize. I'm asking again. But one of them was, I live in Washington State. So my child is literally going from one end of the country to the other. And so we can't really like pack our car up and drive out there. So I was wondering where, if I was to like order stuff, where do I send things for his room? Like from Amazon, for example, is that something we're allowed to do? Because he's a lot can be able to fly out there with a whole lot.
I don't know, Deborah or Julie, I mean, you're the furthest from.
My daughter, we came out from San Diego, so about the same distance. We did pack some stuff, but like the bedding, your pillows, like all that stuff, you're not, carrying across. So we did, when we went out, we spent like one day and did some shopping with her. And then they do have what they call their shoe box, which it's the SHU, like, right, shoe box, play on words. And they can receive packages. It's basically a mailroom. And so you can have things delivered if they're on campus to there. And they get, I can't remember when they get their shoebox, but I think they get it before they're actually on campus.
I believe so as well. Yeah.
And so you can have things, order and delivered there. And what I would recommend though is wait till you get there, especially with roommates, and have conversations beforehand, because you don't want people showing up with 3 refrigerators and 3 Brita water filters and 3 hot, 3 steamers, and that happens because everybody's like, I got it, especially the mom, like, I got to make sure you're all okay, right? So we kind of took the basics and then kind of sat down with the roommate and what they do. So you kind of want them to live there for a couple weeks because they think they need a lot of things. And my daughter was like, I never used that, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I never needed that. I never needed that. So like, it's especially now with Amazon, it's super easy. The other thing is the shuttle takes them, like they can get to Target. So there's a shuttle that runs from the campus that they can get to Target, and so they can do shopping as well if they need to. So there's lots of ways to get stuff there.
Bed Bath and Beyond allows you to order it and then have it, and then you pick it up at a local store. I'm not sure which store is actually the closest, but last summer, and there's a couple of different stores that do that. We did that with Ben's bed frame last summer. I was able to order it online from Home Depot, and then we just picked it up at the Home Depot that was close by. That you can rent like a refrigerator microwave combo, and when you're far away, like that's so much easier. Plus, like for us, we take it in a car, but you don't want that refrigerator, that freezer melting, you know, the whole way back to wherever you're going when it's a long drive.
Yeah, I know that he and his roommate ordered the micro fridge yesterday, and they taking care of. And his roommate lives down the street from us.
Okay.
They're best
So
friends.
they're both far away.
Yeah, so he's
That's amazing. Both from Washington State. That's some good recruitment.
That's awesome. I've never heard that one before.
That's great.
Cool.
Yeah, well, my son wanted to go to Seton Hall, and so he did recruit his friend, and so and it's cool that they're going together, and so that helps with trying to decide. But we were trying to figure out because I tried the Bed Bath & Beyond thing. I was looking on that this weekend, and they were sold out of everything I tried to access. So as I was like Amazon, I figured if I could do that, and if there was a way to mail the stuff, and then and that way it would be there when we got there, and that was my hope.
You can mail it to the mailroom, but you need to know that like the mailroom doesn't open until like the first day that they really come back, and things are kind of hectic for a while. And when you do mail things, it's on the second floor, like kind of, I think Mooney's kind of in the middle of campus. But one time I sent Ben like a huge order from Target with like a huge amount of toilet paper, and
they have to carry it
clear across campus. So he was a little less appreciative of the toilet paper than I thought he would be. But, so just be aware of like where it is.
Right.
So I think Target allows you to order things ahead of time and pick it up. So there's a couple, like look at the stores that you want to order things from. Look at those, because when you get there, you may not have access immediately to the room.
That's
at least for like betting, like the things that he needs immediately.
Well, he seems to think he needs nothing but his Xbox.
I'll say one thing about the TV. My daughter and her roommate, they did bring a television. A lot of them just for watching videos and things like that, they just use their computers. They hid their TV off to the side and they would bring it up. There's not a tremendous amount of room in the room to put a TV somewhere. So do not come with a 45-inch, monster, because there's going to be no place for it. There's a ledge on their desks. They landed up, kind of putting it between their closets. And then when they wanted it, they'd pull it out and they'd put it there. But don't think you're hanging a TV on the wall or something. So be very conservative with the size TV you bring.
Yeah, I would have imagined that would be hard to have.
Yeah.
So, I actually told him he couldn't bring his Xbox, but hearing that.
No, Xbox.
Okay.
I think that comes along like arms and legs and things these days.
Yeah.
Right. It's like oxygen, right? They need that. And I think also be cognizant of the things that they should not bring. There's I added in the chat, there's things that they are not allowed to have in their dorm room. So it's important just to review that list and make sure.
I had a question about that. The lamps, and they're not supposed to have USB or no way to plug their phones in.
Right.
Most of the lamps have those now, so it's really hard to find a lamp without that. And that's what I was trying to find on some of the sites, and all the ones that that I thought I'd be able to order, they weren't in stock. So why is that a thing? Why can't they have
it's a safety issue, and we thought they wouldn't really care, and we were there, and RA came in and said,
oh yeah,
you can't have that. So we ended up flying back to San Diego with it. It is.
We take fire safety very seriously. There was a fire in Boland Hall back in 2009, so they take every precaution not to have anything happen. So certain things that you would think like, why? but it's really for everyone's safety.
The one thing that is allowed though that I found out because I made sure, when you're buying a power strip, there's tons of kinds of power strips, and a lot of the power strips do have USB ports. That is allowed, and that was very helpful because that frees them from plugging in things and whatever. I found a lamp, a desk lamp on Amazon that didn't have a USB port, so it is helpful. But also when the kids are setting up their rooms, I'm sure you all know there's no tapestries or fabric kind of things to go on the wall, but also, my daughter had a lot of photos and she was putting photos on the wall. There's an 18-inch from the ceiling to where anything can be. So do not put anything totally up to the top, because the RA is going to come in a week and say, all that work you just did is going to have to come down. So don't even try, because it's going to come down.
So just FYI, lamps, I purchased them in Target and Walmart, and they were only $9, the stand-up lamps without the USBs. So you might want to check on Walmart or Target and see if there's any available. In the stores, there's usually a ton. Online, I'm not so sure, but if you have one near you, just check it out.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And the other thing too,
sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just wanted to warn you, when you're in a suite, your room locks separately from like the door to come in the hallway for the suite. And just so you know, it locks automatically. So make sure you bring a door, like a rubber door stop, because they get charged after a certain time. Ben managed to lock himself out after a shower one time. So,
I'd say that
live and learn.
They also get fined if they leave their doors propped open, because those are fire doors. So, because my daughter would leave it open so that the suite mates could hang out, and then the RA would come and tell them they needed to not prop their doors open. So,
this is the doors within like their suite too that automatically lock. So just be aware that it does it, because the kids need to have their keys with them. Otherwise, they'll end up locked out when they just go to the bathroom, depending on which dorm they're in.
I noticed somebody asked like if they could move in with their kid. Well, actually, they were asking how long could they stay. I actually planned to stay the day. Like, we moved in and I was like, oh, we're going to hang out. No, they're gone. Like literally we moved in, and then I like had the rest of the day, and she's like, there's like some people and they're getting together out in the hall. Do you mind if I like just go out and see what's going on? Didn't see her for like 2 hours, right? And then you're just kind of sitting there and you kind of feel old and kind of like out of place.
Right. Then just go down into South Orange, because they're great places for adults to hang out. So many good restaurants and, hangout joints.
Flexible, right? Because they might want you there, but they might be ready just for you to be gone. So both ways, right? Don't plan for them to be hanging out with you after they get there.
Yeah, and moving day, as probably everyone knows, is August 26th. And in regards to, it's a great day, and we're excited because, we haven't had the, the conventional move-in day just because of COVID and protocols and safety protocols. So we're excited. The great thing that day is that you'll have volunteer students there to help you. You might not have to pick up anything to take to their rooms. So it's a great day, and we're going to have a welcome tent for parents. We're planning also a pregame reception for families in the evening, because we have our men's soccer team. This is the first that they've actually played on campus on a move-in day.
And they did amazing last year.
They did. So we're excited. Yeah, they had a great team. They won the Big East championship, and so if you want to stay on campus and meet other families, we're going to have a nice reception pre-game. And if you want to watch a soccer game, if it's not your thing, but just to come and meet others, we'll have food, so it's an opportunity just to stay on campus if your students are like, no, you need to leave. No, you don't. You can stay on campus.
Do they still allow students that are from like a certain distance to move in early? Because I know we moved in like maybe 3 days early.
Yes, and what you have to do is, I don't know, you just have to call Housing Residential Life and to arrange that, and they can make those arrangements accordingly, because they are sensitive to those that are coming from Washington State, California. We have students that are coming from Hawaii this year, which is amazing. So they're very sensitive to that. So all you have to do is call them and see if you can arrange to come in early.
We did do that both years, and that was kind of nice to be able to get settled before all the craziness.
I see somebody was asking about the book.
Yes.
That's a good question. My daughter, I think she waited on some of them, but there's also a really good network of students who are selling books. I think there might be a Facebook page that the kids are on, because my daughter bought her. Everybody has to take the basic religion classes their first year, and she was able to meet up with someone on campus, and she bought some books off that. So that's always a great way. But I know my daughter used Amazon, and I think it's a Chegg is another great resource in case you don't want to go to the bookstore, because they can probably find out a lot now from their professors of what things they're going to need. But I know a lot of people do wait, but she didn't on all of them, and it was fine. They don't seem to overload them with books that she didn't need, which was nice.
Yeah, I would say the communication students, I was surprised how few books Ben's really had to buy over the years. Like, I expected it to be a lot more expensive than it was.
Actually,
but just wait till the first day and wait till the professor says you really need this, because sometimes they'll make a list, but they really only need 2 of them.
So in the syllabus, if you have the syllabus should say which are required and which are optional. They're actually technically supposed to do that. But if you have the syllabus, you should know what books you need. And if you do have assignments right away, it's one less thing you want your kids stressing about is they don't got the book, don't have the book, and then they're trying to get it and they're renting it and it isn't coming. So I've always been if you got the syllabus and it says you need the book, you get
right. And a lot of the books are online. I mean, I know my daughter had a lot of classes, even like for her language class, it was all online. The quizzes and things like that are all based in that. It was a web-based book. So you could just download it that day. So it's not like you have to even walk anywhere to go. So there's a lot of options for that too.
But it's good to know what, right. If it is an ebook, great. You can wait. If it's not, and you need
right.
to, and
yeah, looking at the syllabus is obviously a great thing, but I agree with the communication majors seem to have a good financial benefit of that, because the books are not outrageous, unlike a bio major.
So we have about a minute in this panel discussion. So if anyone has any other questions before I ask the panel to share, go ahead, Vanessa. You need to unmute yourself. Sorry.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I just had a quick question. There's a book that I guess freshmen are supposed to get in the mail, and we still haven't received it yet. And it is one of the books required also from one of the teachers. And so I guess all the students, freshmen, were supposed to get it in the mail, but we have not received it, and we were not sure what to do. Like, order the book, or should we wait?
Is that the summer required reading they're asking all freshmen? Just
right.
must, is it?
Yeah. Right, and usually it's for your university life class.
Right.
I did see online that they were just starting to go out. I saw that on one of the Facebook posts that they literally were just mailing them out. So I'm trying to think of who you might call to find out.
Yeah, I know on one of the Facebook posts, because I'm on the Seton Hall parent Facebook post, and a lot of parents were like, I got mine, and I got mine. I'm like, I didn't get mine. So, and my son's not too worried, but I am a little concerned that he hasn't.
Well, I'll tell you, if it's anything like last year, the school didn't provide the book last year. They had to buy it on their own. They read Grit, which was a great book. But even day one, it wasn't like you had to have the whole book absorbed. So I wouldn't panic. They're not going to have to read it cover to cover before the first day of class. So I think you'll be okay if it shows up within this week.
Okay. All right. I just curious if anybody else hadn't received it yet, but thank you.
We're actually going to have the author, Brian Stevenson, on campus for an event, I think in November. So So hopefully he'll be able to read the book before November. So he should be in good hands. But yeah, we're excited about that. So yeah, that is a required reading for the university life course. So hopefully he'll get it before he comes back, before he comes on campus. So I know we're at 7:01. I want to let the panel maybe share some parting advice or words to live by as a parent of a Seton Hall student. So Julie, if you want to go first, and I'll just go.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Julie.
I would say if you don't hear from them a lot, that's probably a good sign. It means that they're having fun, they're making friends, and things are going well. If you hear from them a lot, like constantly, you might want to keep close tabs and make sure they're really okay. So that's kind of what we found. And just tell them to be patient. It takes time to make friends. And join clubs. Like, go to that, I forget what they call it, but on the green, they have like all the clubs come like on 1 or 2 days. Right. And they can sign up, explore as many as they can. That's where they'll make their friends.
Thank you, Julie. How about you, Jen, if you want to share something before we?
I would say if you possibly can, let them do it, whatever it is, and encourage them to reach out to their peers and as well as their faculty. Like, I didn't realize, Julie, but your son and my son, they hang out all the time.
I think so.
Yeah, they're really good friends. Actually, I met Ben when I went up there, but there's just it's a very welcoming community, and sometimes they just need a little nudge to enter it.
Yeah, they'll help each other too. Like, the older kids will help the younger kids. They just need to ask.
That's right. Thank you, Jen. Thank you, Julie. Natalie?
I just want to let you know that you're leaving your kids in the hands of a wonderful school. Having gone there 30 years ago, I wasn't sure the experience my daughter was going to have because I had such wonderful memories, and it was so great to see that she did too. So, and being part of Com Arts, like we were saying, is such a small knit community, and being in the industry myself, I can't tell you how many times I find another Seton Hall alum and we share stories, and it's like an instant bond. And there's so many in this field from Seton Hall, especially if you're going to work in New York. So it's a great experience. And Deborah, you were saying that your daughter was in the communication cohort also for the leadership. I think my daughter knows your daughter, and they might be in the same sorority if she's in a sorority. So that's what I'm saying. It's such a tight-knit group. So you guys are going to really be happy with your choice.
I'm sorry, I have one last question. The Facebook for Seton Hall, is it the Seton Hall University parents or Seton Hall parents and family?
They're both. The one that's family is the official Seton Hall page. So you'll get official responses from the university. The other one is run by a parents, which is fine too. So you just won't get an official response from the university on that one. But I highly recommend you join both because they're both helpful, honestly.
I would join both.
Deborah, you want to have some final words?
Very helpful.
I would just say you've already done the hard work, right? You got them here. They're ready. And let them, get out there and be who they're going to be. And they're going to make mistakes, and they're going to join clubs and be like, oh, I don't really like, you know what, you can change. They can, that this is where they get to, experience, this is where they get to experience adulting. So enjoy. It's great when they come home and you get to see how much they've matured and what the people, the adults that they're going to be. And Seton Hall is an amazing place to have them take that experience. So you're in good hands.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Julie. Thank you, Jen. Thank you, Deborah, Natalie, for sharing your time and your knowledge with our parents of our incoming students. And thank you for joining this discussion. Hopefully you learned a lot. knowing that you're part of our Seton Hall community, as we say, your family. So seriously, take that into account. We're here to help you in this journey. So feel free to contact me at any point if you have any questions. But yeah, we look forward to seeing you in the fall in less than a month, actually, August 26th. So we're excited to see your students walking, the university green and enjoying the college experience they deserve.
I think you're muted, Sandra.
Sandra,
Oh.
you're muted somehow.
That's horrible. I had such a nice speech too. Well, I'm just saying, again, I just said thank you to Julie and Jen and Natalie and Deborah for joining us this evening and sharing their advice and knowledge. As you can see, they're wonderful parents who've shared their sons and daughters with the university, and they're doing well. And as your students are going to be doing well as well. And thank you for joining this discussion, knowing that you're part of our family, our Seton Hall family. So feel free to contact me at any point if you have any questions. And we look forward to seeing you at Move-In Day, August 26th. So it's coming up pretty soon. So your sons and daughters will be on campus and start their educational career at Seton Hall. So thank you again for joining, and go Pirates. Take care, everyone. Have a great summer.
Thank you.
Thank you.